Yes.
How are you guys feeling? Does everybody just want to stand up and stretch for a split second? We're in the home stretch. Go like this. Just get it all out. All right. Are we ready to talk marketing?
I'm ready.
Yeah. All right. Let's do this.
This seems like a great time to introduce our Senior Vice President of Member Marketing and our class yoga instructor today, Melissa Lentz. So thank you. So Melissa, right before we came out here to talk about marketing trends, I decided to take a quick look at Instagram and see exactly how many posts you can see that are hashtagged marketing tips. And it's about 10 million. So that's a lot. That's a lot of marketing
right?
tips.
And these guys have read all of them.
Yes, and we had
And
15
contributed to
minutes
probably half of them.
to cover all of them, and there'll be a quiz at the end. But no, so I really wanted to kind of pare things back and talk a little bit more holistically about marketing today, rather than focusing on any one trend. And I think that starts with just a real definition of what marketing is.
Yeah.
So can you just kind of give us your marketing definition?
First of all, I love this topic. We've heard so many amazing things today, especially AI, right? I know for myself, when there's all these amazing opportunities, like hard stop, I think this is probably the greatest time to be a small business owner, because you have resources that you just never had before with all of this amazing technology. So it's incredible. But I know sometimes when there's all of these opportunities, it also is a bit stressful, because it feels like all this information and all of this onboarding that you have to do. So in times like this, I like to, for myself, take a step back and just peel back the onion and go back to the basics. So I'm really glad that we're doing this. I'm a big fan of metaphor and simile, so go with me on this one.
I love it.
I think being a business your is like being a parent. Is anybody a parent in the room? All right, so some of you guys will follow. Aunts, uncles, I think this would apply as well. But your company is your baby, right? It feels like it's an extension of you. Certainly there's some financial considerations with running a business. I'm gonna go out on a limb and say there's probably some sleepless nights. Any sleepless nights out there? Yeah. So you guys got the baby simile.
Yeah.
But marketing is essentially taking your company and preparing it in the most thoughtful way possible, given all of the amazing tools that we have, and propelling it to go out into the real world and really thrive. So what do I mean by that? Like from a branding standpoint, does your company, your product, your service have a really clear, profound voice that's confident, that cuts through all of the noise that's out there, right? All of the Instagram posts, and makes it stand out. Does your company, your product, your service know what it stands for? What its value proposition is, what it brings to the table? Is that crystal clear? And then is your company in places and interacting in spaces where it's gonna build really productive and long-term relationships with your customers? Because those relationships, as we all know, are the things that are gonna catapult your business to that next level and allow it to grow.
Yeah, those are all excellent points, and I'm really happy that you ended with that point about kind of meeting, like focusing on the places and the platforms that really are gonna drive the most growth, or whatever your business objective is at that moment. So in speaking about that, how do you go about that first step of like figuring out maybe where your customers are or where to focus?
I would say, and this cannot be underestimated, the first step, and we all know this, but like coming back and always revisiting this, is identifying who your customer is, one, obvious, right? And two, really understanding them. Like, what is keeping them up at night? What are they motivated by? What are they inspired by? What are they scared of, right? Because if you don't understand your customer, you're gonna have that much more of an uphill battle trying to explain to them how your company is gonna help solve a problem that they might have or make their life better. So being so obsessed with understanding your customer and always revisiting that, I think, is step one. I think the corollary to that, and none of us like this, and small business owners do not love this, big businesses don't love this either, is you have to be ruthless with getting to the most narrow focus of who you think your ideal customer is, right? So if you're saying, oh, I think this is sort of the span of my customers, right? But it really should be this. And when you say that, people hear, well, I'm leaving all of this opportunity, all of these potential customers on the cutting room floor. That's money, that's opportunity. Why would I do that? But conversely, if you're really tight about who your ideal target audience is, you're going to not waste a lot of time, energy, and capital trying to reach people who probably are never going to convert and be your customer, certainly your best customer. What's also going to happen is your content strategy and your messaging is going to be diminished because you're trying to reach all of these people when you could really try and reach these people, and think how profound and how clear a message you could have if you were that tight with a brief, right?
Yeah.
It's 101, but again, I think it's really important with all of the amazing things going on from a technology standpoint to remind ourselves of that foundational element.
Do you know of any like particular tools that small businesses can tap into to really answer that question of who is that exact customer? Who is that person?
So I'm going to give an analog answer to that,
Okay.
and then we can talk about technology. You want to just talk to your customers or people you think would be your customers on a regular basis, right? So we talked about like, technology, you could try and triangulate it. Get out there and talk to them. And for each one of you guys, depending on what your business is, that's going to mean something different. Like that might be retail intercepts. That might be going to conferences or industry trade shows. That might be doing online surveys. But finding a way to get in front of them directly where you can understand, are they my target audience? And again, answer all those questions we just talked about. An important key to all of that, right, is those prospects that you're building a relationship with might not only become your customers, that's the near-term goal. Long-term goal, though, is they become a marketing channel for you, right? Like how many of us have bought something without reading myriad online reviews or getting referrals? So having that ongoing sustainable channel directly with your customer, however that makes sense for your business, is so key. From a technology standpoint, and again, this is going to be specific to your company and what platforms make sense, we live in such an amazing time where you can be so specific about who you're targeting online, right? Several folks today have talked about that. So if you have a theory of, I think these are two audiences, I'm not the first person that said these words, but like test and learn, A/B test. So build two target audiences, do a little bit of a paid media spend and see what performs and analyze the data. And that's going to also just help you understand who your target audience is for this moment in time where you're showing up with your business.
Yeah, I think I would just add to that, as somebody who's doing marketing every day, that sometimes the answer that you get isn't the answer that you were expecting. So that's why the A/B testing is so important, because you really think you have a good idea of who your customer is or who your audience is, and it turns out you were just a little bit off. So
yeah,
that's why that's essential.
And it's fun. It's experimenting.
Yeah, it is fun. It's work, but it's fun.
Yeah,
certainly. So so it sounds like we are understanding what marketing is. We're understanding that the first step here is really narrowing down who our customer is. And there's different ways to go about that. And then once we've really figured that out, what is the next step? Take us step by step. What do you do once you have that information in hand?
I'm a girl who loves a marketing funnel. Are you guys, everybody loves a marketing funnel. Again, it's like so 101, but sometimes we just get so caught up in the day-to-day and we have our head down and we're hustling and you don't come back and look at your marketing funnel. So for those of you that aren't necessarily familiar with it, like imagine a funnel like this, right? You can splice and dice it depending on your business, depending on the relationship with your customer in a lot of different ways. But for simplicity, right, we have at the very top awareness. And that is brand building. Like that is building an emotional relationship awareness, unaided, with who you think your target audience is. And then we've got the middle of the funnel that starts narrowing. There's going to be less people in that category. And that's consideration. A subset of the people that are aware your company exists and your products are out there are interested in learning more. They want to know about what the value proposition is. They want to know what the comparative set looks like. They're intrigued, right? So you want to, okay, that's great, awesome. And at the very bottom, a subset of those folks are going to want to convert, right? They're going to want to purchase. There should be a really clear call to action. So you want to think through for your business today, and it might look different than it did a year ago, what that marketing funnel looks like. All the different stages that a customer's going through en route to learning about you for the first time, to buying and becoming a loyal customer. What are they feeling? What barriers do they have to sort of progress to the next level of that funnel, right? So get that really clear in your mind. And then you want to start thinking about channels for each one of those aspects of the funnel. So you could probably go out on a limb, if you are relatively new or you have a new target audience, you're probably going to have some level of paid media at the top of your funnel, right? You have to get out of your existing ecosystem and get in front of folks that you don't necessarily have access to. At the bottom, the further in the funnel that you go, your channels might look like email. So like lead gen, names and emails that you've collected through the course of your marketing funnel. It might be your website, it might be social, et cetera. So you want to think about the channels, and then you want to think about your content strategy. What do you want to say based on the insights you have about your target audience to continue to have them accelerate and become really loyal customers? And not only become loyal customers, but become evangelists for your brand as a marketing channel, as we talked about.
Yeah, I think I know that's the 101 marketing funnel, but it's so important, I think, to keep harking back to that again and again. And I think we often go completely to the channel first, right? When we talk about marketing and we talk about how do we market on Facebook, how is that different than, TikTok, or email.
And this stuff is not, I am aging myself, but there was something called organic reach back in the day where you could be on all of these platforms and build all of these audiences. And sadly, we know that is not the case right now. So again, going back to really knowing your audience and knowing where they're interacting, where they're getting their information, that's gonna help inform your channel strategy, right?
Absolutely.
So you can really build, put significant budget where it makes sense against certain parts of your funnel, and not diminish by trying to be everything to everyone, right? Like we would all love that in life, but we have fixed resources. So we have to be really disciplined about that, and it might evolve and change with time.
I think we should retitle this segment Marketing Boundaries.
I like
That's
it.
what it sounds like.
And stretching.
Yes, and yoga.
And
so
yoga.
many things.
Yeah, totally.
So I think I want to pivot a little bit. We saw on stage earlier, we had Reina and Rosa.
Amazing.
And yes, who were both incredible, founders and entrepreneurs. And it was really clear that they were at the center of their own brands. So I think up until this point, we've really been speaking about small business marketing in terms of marketing the business itself and the business name. But where does the founder, the entrepreneur, kind of come into play here in terms of marketing a business?
Well, as you saw with those amazing gals, you are the brand of your business, right? Especially as a small business, a medium-sized business. You are one of the greatest assets for your company. So always remembering that. Also, we live in a time where certainly younger generations want to know the origin story. They want to get behind the Wizard of Oz curtain, and they want to hear what motivated you to start this company, to own and run this company. What problem are you out there trying to solve? What kind of values do you have? So understanding that's what folks crave, and in fact, that's when they're going down the marketing funnel, that might be part of the consideration set of, is this a company whose values align with mine? So you always want to be thinking about that. As far as how to harness your network, a colleague of mine sort of gave me this frame years ago, and I think it's really helpful. So if you think of like 3 concentric circles, right? So like the closest in circle are your friends and family, the people that know you really well, right? And then you zoom out a little bit, and they're people that you've had some meet cute moment with. So maybe you worked with them 8 years ago, maybe they're your hairdresser, maybe your kids played on the softball league together. You guys get what I'm saying. Like they know you, they'll take your phone call, they might take a meeting, but they don't have a preconceived notion of who you are as an individual or a brand or a company. And then the outer ring are obviously folks that you don't know just yet. And while it might seem intuitive that you want to immediately go to the friends and family circle, where you find a lot of fertile ground from a networking standpoint, right? And this could be, not necessarily transactionally selling them things from your business, but building partnerships, building supply chain, right? Like all of these different assets that make your company successful is that middle ring. Because as I mentioned, they'll take the call, they'll take the meeting, they're intrigued, but they don't necessarily pigeonhole you into something. They are open to the idea of how you transform and how you evolve. So just really be thoughtful about your network as you're thinking about all the discrete pieces that you need and making your business a success and putting that baby out there to succeed in the real world.
That's excellent advice. And I think actually Rosa did comment on that during her segment as well, that those were just the kind of people that were really instrumental to getting her business off the ground. So Melissa, I could talk to you literally the entire day, but that is all the time we have for today. So thank you so much for joining us.
I'm so happy to be
thank you.
here. Wonderful to meet you guys.